Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Choice of Winding Down Chronicles. So I am at the end of my second month of early retirement. This is going to be more of like a reflection. So I don't know if in any of your early retirements did you have any other drastic events happening at the same time, but we had some pretty drastic events in the last 2 months. We got married and we had to close up our situation in Bangkok. I physically moved back to the country and to the house where we plan to live for the rest of our lives. So this has been an active 2 months, but this was exceptionally stressful in some ways and a very monumental month. January was basically a reset. And month 2, February, actually feels like reality now. Things are starting to settle, not fully. So going into this year, along with the excitement of having a new year and basically starting this new life, if you remember from last month's video, I started this whiteboard. This is actually redone. I've removed a number of the notes that I've made here, but my theme for this year is going to be abide, recovery, and discovery. And if you're not sure what those mean, please go back and look at my first video. So abide, the first one is, it sounds peaceful. It sounded peaceful in January. It sounded motivational, but when you actually implement that, it feels like invisible progress because it's nothing you can actually physically see or in some cases feel because it's not a very long period of time. You kind of hope, like medicine that you take, you don't feel, in many cases, you don't feel it affecting you. You're just trusting that it's impacting you and trusting in the process. And a lot of this is just process. You might not you don't see the results right away, but you do expect to see them at some point. And spending that time alone in solitude and in quietude. The lesson here for me, I think, is stability is not built in breakthroughs. It's built in sustainability. It's built through the boredom. So the abiding, this consists of my devotionals in the morning, my meditation period, which is usually about an hour, sometimes even more. It's my evening reading during the week. It's the church and spending time with friends and developing those relationships. And this week, this month, I got to meet with 2 good friends, potentially developing some new friendships. So in recovery, getting back into the gym because I want to regain my health. The best way I know how to do that is to build muscle and gain muscle and to eat well. Sleep is a big one. I'm still working on the sleep. I still have some issues with falling asleep. And I think that there's still some mental stress from work related, and even just the stress in life affect my sleep. But I am getting about 7 to 9 hours, even though I don't feel fully rested, but I do expect that to improve. I'm doing things to help make that, to improve them. Like going to bed a little earlier, reading in the evening, healthy foods, just eating single ingredient foods. Most of our food is fresh. I eat some red meat. I'm eating 2 to 3 times a day. I don't snack. I don't eat sugars. I consistently am working out daily, except for Sundays. I know I need to take that rest, mentally and physically. But what surprises me is how much I'm going back into that routine of working out. I think the most difficult part is getting up in the morning and getting moving and doing some physical movement. Even just a little bit to get the blood flowing. It's very hot now. Recovery is the subtraction before the addition. You have to stop and take a break before you can move forward. So discovery is something that's a little more geared to my intellectual and my creative side. And some of the things that I've done, I think I'm pretty proud of some of the YouTube videos that I produced. Spent more time on them. Much more thoughtful. This is my consistency with learning Lao language and putting in the long, boring hours to do that. I actually picked up my guitar sooner than I expected. Sitting there since I bought it, I couldn't resist. I had to pick up and start plucking at it, even if it's just running my fingers. Part of that motivation was I want to get my fingertips prepared to be able to play it. It takes a little while to get your fingers used to holding the strings and not being sore. So I wanted to develop those calluses, but in the process of doing that, it's motivated me to play more. And I'm surprised how well I'm playing after 8 years of not playing. That's something that was moved up a little closer, and I really enjoyed it. I find it meditative. This is a month when the adrenaline of month one start to fade, and I've just become a normal guy that shows up at the gym. I'm not really the new guy, or really anywhere. Discovery isn't about finding something new. It's noticing what remains when the actual work disappears. Some of the things I want to just point out that I was a little bit carryover from last month's whiteboard. Doing less is greater than doing more. So when I was working, I was trying to fit more stuff into the little bit of time I have. And now I'm trying to do less things and spreading that out over the abundance of time that I have now available. So every day is almost feeling like a Saturday. And so now I can spread out those things and I just don't feel so stressed. And it feels like I'm doing less, but I think the progress I'm making shows like I'm doing more just because I'm able to focus more time on those things. Another thing I think it's important to keep in mind, if you want results, there's some pain that comes with that. What am I willing to suffer through to get the results I want? If I want to play guitar or speak the Lao language, I need to put in those long, boring hours of listening to the language, playing guitar, playing scales, getting my fingers numb to the strings to be able to press down. And now I could play for almost an hour without my fingers hurting. But that took time to get to that. And most people quit when the pain becomes too much. And I think that's probably one thing I've been grateful for. I have a lot of persistence and resilience that I push through. When I do want something, I do want to play the guitar. I don't want to sound like claws on a chalkboard. I just want to be able to play a melody, not sound like crap. So that's going to require me to play the scales, to suffer through the sore fingers. Learning the Lao, that's going to require hours of memorization, listening to audio, and the hardest part is going out and practicing with people that I see. I'm very, very introvert, and I have that tendency more so in retirement because I don't really need to go anywhere, and I really hesitate to go out. And so I just need to force myself go outside more often. My wife tells me I don't, and she's right. That's pushing through that boredom. Everybody's excited with their goals and everything in January, but the statistics show that most people give up by February. February was really developing those habits. Speak Lao, play guitar, and one of them I will get to is finishing my memoir and getting healthy. Those are the three big ones for this quarter. I know what I'm going to do pretty much on a daily basis, and the thing I have to remember is I'm not focusing on the outcome, I'm focusing on the process. The habit helped me achieve the outcome that I want. Putting in those hours, putting in the reps. Hopefully I'm doing the things that really move the needle. I'm willing to lower the bar as long as I don't lower my standard. But I'm going to continue doing what I believe will help me get to that point. Even if the outcome is pushed out another 3 or 6 months. But I'm willing to go through the pain to get those results. I wrote down some small wins here. It just helps when you write these things down as they're happening and you look back in reflection, you get a sense of satisfaction, and I'm proud that I didn't give up. I resisted the temptation to be complacent. I had moments of laziness, but I also overcome them, and they didn't become the habit, because it's a lot easier to become lazy than it is continue to do the things that are going to give you actual benefits in a longer term. So just some of the small wins I'll go over. I honed in on my coffee utility. If you ever heard of the the law of diminishing utility. It's an economics term where the more you do something, the less utility or enjoyment you might get from that. And I realized my utility for coffee stops at 20 grams of coffee. So I drink 20 grams of coffee beans, which is about 300 grams of water, and it's a medium-sized cup of coffee, and then I'm satisfied. I got my desk pretty much arranged, better than it was before. We did a few more repairs on the house that were eating at me, and we just wanted to do it regardless of the cost. Going through the pain of being in the gym, I was sore. I couldn't even touch my legs and move. I passed through that period of pain and I'm starting to see more results. I did some measurements this morning. They're incremental, but at least they're more than they were. At least it's better. 1% better every day. But 1% better every day is better than nothing. Some challenges this month, the last 2 months, are the stock market, of course. I'm on a moderate budget this year, and this year I need to start making some advances in my finances to prepare me for next year, so I have some cash reserves. But I'm afraid to take anything out of the market right now because the market's just, I'm in the red. Wait it out. Pray and hope in some ways that the market does recover by the time I need to be a little more aggressive about cashing in some of my portfolios so I have cash for next year. You know, some of the wins in my abiding. I finished reading Die with Zero. I finished reading From Strength to Strength. I'm in the process of reading Stop Overthinking and implementing those practical tips on how to stop overthinking. I wish I would have read this book a couple years ago, as with most of them. But to stop overthinking, you know, I tend to be a ruminator. I tend to think too much, and I know it's not very healthy. So this is helping me to gain control, manage that. The goal of mine is to have more peace this year. And I'm reading slowly the book of John in the Gospels. So I've got some small wins there. They're not going to be noticeable to anybody. One of the things that I did notice physically is 15 years ago when I did this workout, this MP45 workout, 2 months, you could noticeably see the difference in my body. Not so much in my 50s. So that was I was 42 when I did this workout. I'm older now and I can't do some of the things that it requires you to do. Working out 2 times a day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, and then doing all these sprints, I can't do it. If I tried to do anything with like sprinting, anything too intense with my legs other than just lifting weights, I risk injuring my knees and I don't want to do that. So I know my limitations there. And I know my body has changed in my 50s, so I'm not losing the weight as quick as I would like. But I do see some progress in my measurements. I'll be erasing this for next month, so there it gives you a pretty good view of what the month was like. So even though month 1 was a difficult month, very stressful and exciting at the same time, it turns out month 2 is really where all the adjustments are being made. You know, I think month was more of a reset. 2 is calibration month, honing in on the things that are important, honing in on the things that I'm willing to go through pain for whenever that outcome may eventually appear. So early retirement isn't about escaping work. It's about learning how to live without being pushed. You are your own motivator. There's no one else who's going to motivate you now. When I think about my days at work, I'm like, wow, I was really pressured to perform. Because I was getting paid to do that. Now with that pressure off, you know, I've got to use the discipline that I've learned from work to keep me from becoming a vegetable. So January was more like a reset. It was more like reorienting myself back to Lao and finding a pace with my wife. February is more like calibrating things that I want to do, working on my routine, working on my schedule. And I think March will probably be a consolidation. Next week, we actually have to go to Bangkok. We're taking the train. Normally we would fly because of time, but the train is half the price, even though it takes 5 times as long to get there, and it's not as comfortable. There's a lot more inconveniences to take the train, but we have time, and my wife has to go to get an implant on her tooth. Bad timing. I'm going with her more for the dentist, and I have some personal business to do there. That's my month 2. These are the things that I've been going through. What do you think? How was your month? Thanks, everybody. Take care. God bless, and take it slow.